automatically, because remember, some of this stuff is genetic. They either have it or they don't, right? This is what it's all about, people. Attack the boy! He must know that I'm in the dog fight with him. I'm next to him side by side. We have a bond that's unbreakable. Do you like that intro?
That's fucking hard, bro.
Hey, go ahead and click.
That's so sick.
Go ahead and click the live shit on the other.
I got you.
Damn, Gina.
Damn, Daniel.
I know, right? So
That's
people,
fire.
this is Dog Talk, and listen, we both had to grab something to eat, right? I was about to I have this thing called, what is it called? Where it's like it's air fryer. So I just throw some shit in there. Throw some shit in there, right? And just make it happen. And
that shit's clutch.
Yeah. So what you eating? Top ramen and chicken? What is it?
Probably chicken casserole. It's some palm colored people stuff.
You go. So what we're gonna do, people, we're gonna dog talk, and we're talking to Rihanna from Built Right Kennels with a W,
Yep.
West Side.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw you on YouTube. We're gonna get into who you are, but I saw you on YouTube at a bully conference in Houston.
Nationals.
Oh yeah. Shit. And
the be all end all of the bully community.
Right. And the Dobermans have one, but it's international. It's called the IDC. And this one's going to be in Croatia this year.
Okay.
It's going to be my first time going.
Yeah.
I need to get those miles up to keep my status.
That part.
And I got global interest, so getting back ain't going to be no problem. Right. So I'm going to, that's our thing for the Doberman community. But yeah, I saw you there and I was like, I don't see that many female breeders. Number one. Number two, I don't see that many female black breeders. Number three, I'll run this shit down. I don't see that many breeders, female breeders, dealing with bullies, XL bullies. The game is tough out there. Mm-hmm. And so I commend you for even stepping into that realm and holding it down and being who you want to be and producing what you want to produce, right? So let's give it up. Come on, like drink champs.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. You know what? I'm grateful that I'm here, man. So I definitely appreciate the invite.
No problem. So people, I want to introduce Rihanna. Right. Can you tell us where you're from and how long you've been breeding? First part, where you from?
So I'm from Brampton. It's about 40 minutes from Toronto. It's like the suburbs, just kind of outside of it. And I have been breeding for maybe about 4.5 years, but I don't really classify myself as just a breeder. The reason I say that is because, I've had one litter, and that was about almost 3 years ago. So I think I kind of showed you Willow beforehand. So I bought a classic dog actually. And then I bought my boy Taco and I bred them together. And, again, as I was starting out, I didn't really know much about the breed standard, but I was really passionate about the breed. I wanted to learn because the breed is still relatively new. And when I learned more about it, I realized okay, well, there goes Taco.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? This is not what I want to do. I want to produce, show quality stuff, top quality stuff. And so I took a little bit of a break and about 3 years actually. And during that time, I invested in going to shows, networking with, judges, as well as, just some of the OGs in the game, and tried to learn as much as I could. You know what I mean? And in that time, I was able to find my girl Champion Jules. And that was about 2 years ago. And we brought her over to Canada and actually made Canadian history as the first XL female ABKC champion in the country. And then, from there, we waited a couple years to try and find, the best stud. Obviously going to shows again, putting hands on the dogs, really learning about what I wanted to improve on with my own stock. And now where we're at now, where we're going to have one of the best, in my honest opinion, one of the best breedings in Canada for this year.
Wow. And so that the bully game is still new to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the bully is mixed with a lot of different breeds, or a good selection of few of breeds. Mm-hmm. So, and I was asking my guy Donnell last night. I trained with him in South Bay, Malinois, shout outs. And I was asking him, I'm like, you're breeding the Dutch with a bull herder and it's got some Malinois in them. And I'm like, and then he shows me this website where, because I noticed when he sells puppies, it has this number, like this 5 or 6 digit number after every one, like Dutch Shepherd, Brindle number, blah, 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 whatever, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, what does that mean? Because I'm an AKC guy. All I know is the WSs and the WZs, whatever. That's our alphabets, WS and WZs.
Okay,
2 letters of a Doberman.
Kind of like the UKC, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so I was like, well, how do you determine like how much percent of that dog is Dutch? How much of it is Pit? How much of it is Malinois? So my question is like, to be considered a bully, what percentage, and how do you guys determine that other than using Embark DNA testing? How do you consider a bully?
So that's a great question, honestly. I think a lot of it is still pretty subjective in regards to what we define as a bully. There's a lot of leeway. Like where if you look at the difference between Jules and Taco and Willow, there's a lot of variation. But coming into the new year and, obviously having the standard updated and going to a lot of shows, you see that there's a very specific look. You know what I mean? And I've talked to Dave Wilson, who's the president of the ABKC, which is the home of the American Bully. Because genetically, because we talk about, Geno and Pheno, right? They can be different things. So Geno is the genetics, Pheno is the look and how it presents. And so genetically, like Jules doesn't even test 100% American Bully, right? She's from a famously known line that incorporated South African Borbal a few generations back, as well as my boy War, and versus like Taco. Whereas if you test him with Embark, he comes back as 100%, right? And so there's always a little bit of variation in there genetically. But as long as the dog carries the phenotype, which is the look of the breed and the breed standard, they would classify it as an American Bully. Now, that's obviously a big debate that we're having as breeders. You know what I mean? Because some people will say, well, your dog is a Doberman. Like they just, or it's a pity or something like that, right? And so we're still as a community trying to find that definitive, like, this is a bully, this is what our dogs are. But, it's... because it's still such a new breed. And, if you're familiar with creating a breed, you have to mix different breeds together. And it's not something that happens overnight, right? It's something that happens over several decades, if not, hundreds of years, right?
Right.
And so like the phase that we're in right now for the American Bully is still foundational, in my opinion. I don't think that in my lifetime, we're going to see the ultimate true American Bully. You know what I mean? We have plenty of dogs that are great examples of the breed. Again, my littermate sister to my girl Jules, like Grand Champion Dreams, considered one of the best XL females in history. She's the only XL female Grand Champion in North America and the second in American Bully history. So there are dogs out there that are standout dogs that, you can look at that and say, oh, that's 100% American Bully. Like they wouldn't even question if it's a pit bull. But I don't think that as a community, we've sort of reached that consistency yet. So that's something that we're still working on. Obviously I encourage health testing, so Embark, but we've got a lot of other great tools as well, like Wisdom Panel, UC Davis. If you were to use a Wisdom Panel, they don't actually test for American Bully. They don't have a genome for it yet. So it'll actually tell you the genetic breakdown of, how much Bulldog and how much ABPT or how much Mastiff is in these dogs. And we use those tools to help us improve the breed going forward. But there really is no, like, this is it, genetically at least.
I noticed like there's a guy, is it called BG Kennels, BG?
Is it Big Gemini?
Yeah, Big Gemini.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's got some very large dogs too. At what point does it become too big? The XL Bully.
So that just depends, right? If we look at the actual written standard, I believe it's 23 inches is the max for the XL bully. So technically anything above that is out of the written standard. Now, again, with the variation, there's still a little bit of leeway for that, right? So like your dog could be 24, 25 inches, but if it's got the proportion, so if it's not lean in the front, it's very wide, it's got a blocky head, a blocky muzzle on the face, and it's proportionate, they'll still allow dogs like that to show within the XL class. You know what I mean? So, I mean, what is too big? To me, it's a dog that becomes dysfunctional, a dog that's unhealthy, a dog that can't carry that weight throughout its lifetime, or is, struggling because of that. To me, that's a dog that's too big. But with this breed, like, there's always new changes. Dave Wilson recently announced that he's going to be modifying the standard again to incorporate a previously disqualifying color, which is the Merle, right? So who's to say that in the next couple of years he doesn't start to incorporate a double XL class, right? Where dogs that are taller than that original written standard. Yeah, right. Because that's original. There's plenty of dogs that are technically out of standard, but are beautiful breed stocks still. So it's pretty cool though. You get to kind of be a part of something that's still building, and you get to have a little bit more say than you would with a traditional pre-established breed.
Somebody asked a question here. You can answer that question. You see the question?
Is the XL usually natural birth or C-section? Great question. So I think it just depends, right? Like breeders kind of have their own preferences and stuff like that. And there's a lot of money, I'll be honest, in this game. And so a lot of people, when they're doing big breedings, they don't even want to risk doing a natural birth. I myself am very much a natural birth person. As a woman, I'm like, I don't want to cut my dog open if I don't have to. You know what I mean? Like, and then have her struggle with that healing process and stuff.
Yeah, and nursing at the same time.
Right. And then coming off of the anesthetic and not realizing if you've had puppies. I've heard horror stories about females not taking to the puppies, and then you got to hand whelp the whole litter. But I'm very much pro-natural. You know what I mean? Jules, with her previous owner, did have a litter. She had a litter of 14 that she gave birth to naturally. 11 survived. But again, like with this litter that I have coming up with her with Grand Champion Pressure is so much bigger than her. It's one of those where I would love to do it naturally, but I also don't want to risk losing my female. I will cut all the puppies out and get rid of the puppies just to save my girl. You know what I mean? So it's actually something that I was talking about earlier with the owner of Grand Champion Pressure, and just sort of debating, like, is it worth it? And he was like, you know what, like, do the C-section. It's better to be safe than sorry, but it's a case by case. Like my girl Willow gave birth to 10 puppies naturally. No issues, no problems. I fell asleep.
She don't even have 10 nipples.
She does. That's the thing. So 10. She does.
Oh, okay.
They do. So they usually have around 8 to 10 nipples depending on the size. But like I fell asleep around 4:30 and woke up at 7 a.m. and there was 4 puppies. She was like already popped 4 of them out. I was like, oh my gosh, like, she's a beast. You know what I mean? So I really do think that Jules can have it, but I will always have a vet, especially I have a really great repro vet, but I'll always have them on call just in case, and have a C-section booked literally at the same time to be able to just make sure that everything goes smoothly, There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of money in this game, Jules is a $20,000 dog, so that's not something that you really want to.
I need to switch breeds.
Yeah.
So
honestly, you got to do it right though, man.
Right. So this leads me to another question.
Mm-hmm.
The average price, so case in point, your females, they all have to have some kind of confirmation show title or something, right?
Yes and no, right? Like obviously starting out, Willow to me is not the breed standard at all. She's got beautiful angulation, nice top line, but she's so narrow and so small, and her muzzle is too long, her head is too narrow, and it's one of those things you can breed away from that, but I don't want to just bring life into this world to just get a little bit of an increment step. And that's why I took that break and was like, I'm going to step back, go to more shows, really put hands on the dog, study the breed, and find something that's a lot closer to my end goal vision than spend the next decade trying to build towards that,
Right. So let me ask you this. So, and I'm always writing questions down as we talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Over there in the UK, they have completely banned XL bullies. So my question is, number one, why? And number two, what are they doing with the XL bullies that are still living over there? Did they euthanize them? Euthanize them?
So good question. So the reason why it's a mix of things, right? They were having a lot of issues with attacks. They're having a lot of issues with dogs with poor temperaments, dogs that, according to us, wouldn't necessarily meet the standard in regards to phenotype, because they were mixing a lot of stuff. And there are a lot of beautiful XLs and great bloodlines out there as well. But I think from a general community standpoint, there was a lot of fear mongering going on, and a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to what the actual breed is. And so there was a lot of dogs that were mixed dogs. Our breed is mixed, but there was a lot of dogs that were like really bad mixes that didn't have the correct temperament, didn't have the correct phenotype, and couldn't withstand being in the environment that they needed to be an XL bully, being a non-human aggressive, and being a family dog. And because of that, unfortunately, the breed was banned. You know what I mean? Now, what happened with them, what Dave Wilson, as well as Ryan Gard, who owns Monster Bully Kennel, a few other advocates, they were trying to start a what's the word for it? I guess like some policies called "Don't ban me, license me," which is basically having the breed licensed and requiring people, to muzzle their dogs and having them be educated on what the actual breed is. And I think again, a big issue was that dogs that weren't true American bullies or XL bullies were being classified as such, and it gave the breed a really poor rep. And I agree, like we have the same issue here. It doesn't matter what the breed is. If bad people get a hold of these dogs, bad people are going to do bad things. And because of its rise in popularity, a lot of not really good people were taking these dogs and doing shady shit with them. Shady things.
No, you can.
Oh, I can? Okay, cool, because I cuss.
Listen.
I've been trying to articulate myself in a really respectful way, but
so
there's a lot of really fucked up shit with these dogs, and it put a really bad light on them. And once that fear is out there in the community, it's really hard to rein it back in. So I have a few friends who had to leave the country even because they're like, we're not giving up our programs, and we've invested so much in these dogs. Like, if you didn't spay your dog, they were going to put them down, and a lot of them unfortunately did end up euthanized as well. So it's an unfortunate thing, honestly.
This is what I noticed, and and social media has a way of embellishing the non-truth, right? And what I noticed is that from all the short reels and the videos throughout the internet, I noticed that the XL bully is a cultural dog. It's more. I've seen more people who are non-Anglo-Saxon, having these dogs, especially in the UK. The videos I've seen, here's my issue. The videos I've seen has been people of color having these dogs over there in the UK. But the real issue I have within that, with anybody, no matter what race or sex they are, is the equipment they use to keep control of this dog. They literally have seen people walk around with harnesses on a dog that's well over 100 pounds. And when they do use a collar, it's a bling bling collar. It's
a huge flat collar that applies no pressure. Yeah,
you can't control a dog with that equipment. That's a show and tell equipment. So when you have a dog that's an alpha dog, it is what it is. I mean, there's not too many dogs that can put an XL bully down, but there's a lot of dogs that XL bully can put down. When you have a dog that's in prey mode, and you are a $110, and a dog that's a $130 pulling you, he gonna take you where he wants to go. And I think that's where all the accidents have happened, is the mishandling, the miseducation, the misuse of equipment and of the dog. And that, because I haven't seen too many white folks over there in the UK with these massive fucking dogs. Not saying that they're not, but I haven't seen that many.
I think that's a cultural thing too. Because if you look at the history of the bullies, it started with a lot of out in California and and over in Virginia. There's a few different histories for the breed, but it's always typically been like a breed for the minority. You know what I mean? Something different, something that we could kind of show off a little bit. And it did start out as like, they used to have the dogs doing face-offs and stuff like that. But as the breed progressed, it was part of the written standard that these dogs weren't aggressive and they weren't high drive and they were relaxed. So as much as 130 or 150 pound dog may look intimidating, it's not meant to behave like that at all by any means. You know what I mean? Like, a great example for me is Grand Champion Pressure. That dog was 148 pounds at his last weigh, right? When he wants to go, he hauls ass, bro. But he's also got such a gentle temperament. He lives with, 3 other intact. Actually, I'm lying. He's got about 4 or 5 other intact males in the house, and they all socialize together. They're great. Females are in heat. There's no issues. And to me, that's a well-bred American bully. Now that's not to say that there won't ever be issues with other dogs or other people, but that's not what the breed is, And so, like,
I think there's a lot of. I have a friend that came to training with us last night. We have training on Wednesdays nights, and he's my friend. He has a Cane Corso, 8 months old. This happened last night.
Beautiful dogs, man.
Yeah. Let me tell you what the fuck happened. So I was hitting him up. I was like, man, you're going to put some training in that dog because, he's a puppy now, but he won't be a puppy forever. He said, yeah, he listened to me whenever I was like, but does he listen to you when he's distracted? Will he listen
when
to
he
you
doesn't want to?
Yeah. Or when he doesn't want to? And he's only a puppy. Trust me. When those proverbial balls, those mental balls drop, he's going to challenge you. He's going to try to do what he wants to see can he get away. He's going to run from you. He's going to get away, literally. Will he listen when he gets away? So we went to the field last night, and this is a learning mistake for him. We used to bodybuild together, and I went up there. I ain't seen him in a while. I know. I said I used to bodybuild with him. I know I don't look like it now, but trust me, right? And as soon as I hugged him and shit and talked to him, the puppy tried to bite me in the chest, and he never saw that. And just imagine if that dog was 14 months old, 2 years old.
Yep.
Right now, it's like, okay, you can play with me, but I can still put my foot up your ass. But 30, 40 pounds later, the game's different.
It's a different dog, man.
Right. Yeah. So for me, it's like, I think that the band and the bad rap with the dobies and with pits and with bullies is the not only the misusage of the utility of the dog, but just the lack of training.
Absolutely.
Really. I mean, because.
And again, education, right? Like, they didn't ban the American bully. They banned one specific class of the American bully, right? And so if you have a pocket, you have a standard, you have a classic, technically those dogs are still legal, right? And I don't see cops walking around the UK with wickets being like, well, how tall is your dog? Let's see what it classifies as. Because that's the only difference between those dogs, right? Like, genetically, the makeup is supposed to be the same. The look is supposed to be the same, but the height is what changes that. So you're telling me if my dog was 2 inches shorter, it's legal? You know what I mean? Like, it's so ass backwards. It doesn't even make sense,
I think that that the UK, again, I was over in that area to for a football game. I was over there in London. Okay. And my personal experience is like, wow, they're a little bit backwards here in regards to there's a hierarchy. Certain people do certain manual labor jobs, and it's just so when you can control somebody's happiness, sometimes that means controlling their dogs, controlling what you can do with those dogs, controlling having a dog, period.
Or their livelihood. Yeah.
Or their livelihood.
You're seeing the colonization up front.
I saw it. I was like, wow. It's like all the black folks and the Ethiopians are either servers or drivers. It's like something like, okay, there's a system in place over here. It's like, working for them.
Yeah.
It's working for them. Question.
Yes, sir.
What is the mistake you want to talk about when you bought a dog? Did you, example, did you buy a dog that was overpriced or bought a dog that had a defect that you later discovered? What was the biggest mistake you made? Because we all make mistakes. We all,
For sure.
like how we said in the men, we all get our cherry popped every now and then.
Of course.
And I got mine popped in 2010, you know, and it was like, okay, I know what not to do next time.
Exactly.
So what was your experience with your worst experience that you've learned from as being a bully breeder?
A great question. So I'd say that's like a double-edged sword kind of question. So it was like the worst experience, but I learned the most from it. That would have been buying Willow. I'd never owned dogs before. I owned a ton of pets. I had budgies, I had Syrian hamsters, I had dwarf hamsters, I had fish, I had a hedgehog at one point. I had pretty much every freaking animal under the sun but a dog. My parents would not let me get a fucking dog. So when I moved out, that was the first thing I did. And when I bought her, I actually bought her under the impression that I was buying a pocket pit bull. That's what I was told.
Right.
I didn't know anything about the breed. Didn't even know that there was no such thing as a pocket pit bull. I just wanted something that I knew that people weren't allowed to have, and I wanted to change the narrative behind that breed. Genuinely, that was why I got the dog. And the mistake in that was that I bought a bully, but I didn't know enough about the breed to know, like, I'm supposed to get paperwork in hand, you know, and what kind of registration paperwork. But at the same time, it was a great learning experience, because then when I bought my next dog, the first thing I said was, does that nigga have ABKC paperwork? Because if he doesn't, I'm not sending you a dog.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, and that's actually a very common, like, you can't find, in my honest opinion, you can't find a single bully breeder that has not bought a dog and then didn't get their paperwork, or bought something that didn't turn out to be what they thought it was, you know? So that to me was definitely my greatest mistake, but also my greatest blessing, you know, because then it really opened my eyes to this breed, and it made me passionate to be one of those breeders that educated people. And, you know, if you bought something off me, you knew what you were getting, you know?
I was going through a divorce. This is in 2010.
Congratulations, or sorry to hear that.
Congratulations, goddamn.
Congratulations, then.
Right. So I was going through a divorce in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife at that time was moving out. She moving back into her house. She kicked her tenants out and moved back into her house. And as soon as she moved out, what did I get? A dog. That's what I wanted. She never did like dogs. And I was caught up on this king size Doberman, Warlock Doberman. It's no fucking thing of that.
Yeah.
And so I saw this breeder in Arizona. I think it was called something, Arizona Dobermans or something. I don't know what it was. This is a while ago. And she said she had one puppy left. And she sent me a picture. And that puppy was all the way back. Can you hear me? All the way back. I was like, why is she? I didn't really pay attention. Like, why is she way
What's
back
with that
there?
angle? Yeah.
Yeah. But she was a big female. She was like, to me, that's considered, she's a heavy female. That means she looks like a male, but obviously she's not. That's what I like, right?
Stud killer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I got her. And the first thing I noticed is she's skittish as fuck.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I spent money on trying to break that skittishness,
Mm-hmm.
right? If that's a word. And there's no breaking that. That if the dog is born that way,
Yep.
the dog dies that way.
Yep.
And that was $2,500. And I was like, does you got AKC papers? Yeah, we got AKC papers. So I got the AKC papers, right? But what I didn't know, that there's two different type of registrations with AKC. You got limited and full. Limited means you got a certificate saying, yeah, the dog is AKC
And here's
certified.
the pedigree, but you're not supposed to breed that.
But you can't fucking breed the dog.
Yep.
Didn't know that, right? So I couldn't break the skittishness off of that dog. And after spending, I would say like Leo be saying, thousands and thousands of dollars.
A whole heap.
Yeah.
A whole
I
heap
was
of
like,
money.
I got rid of her.
Yeah.
I got rid of her. And, I've been taking advantage of one other dog. but those, because I got rid of her, I got him, and I thought I was buying Wright this time, and I got full AKC, but it was a bait and switch. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, right? So my other question is to you, like, what have been the difficulties in being a minority breeder, not just a woman, but a black woman in this game that is majority male dominant?
I think it's similar to that of, any experience being a black woman in a male dominated field, right? Like, having to work twice as hard to have just that little bit of acceptance and, credit given. Now, to be fair, like, in my honest opinion, I haven't really done anything yet in this community. I've champed a few dogs out. I've trained some dogs, I've networked with some really big names, but I feel like I still have a lot to do, but at the same time, it can be difficult to be taken seriously because there's always going to be people that you have to question their motivations. Like, what do you really want out of this?
Right.
Are you just looking for a little bit of attention, or like, do you genuinely want to network and work and really get down in the dirt and, get this shit done? So, I definitely think like being taken seriously. But I'm the type of person where, like, I'm in Canada, weed is legal. Like, I smoke, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. You know what I mean? Like, I do my own thing. I toot, my own horn and beat my own drum. Like I said, I took that couple year break, and it's been 3 years since my last breeding. And I've just been going to a bunch of fucking shows, like trying to show as many dogs, champ as many dogs, build my name outside of just putting two dogs together and breeding them. And, in doing that, I think I've gained a lot more respect because, I've networked with a lot of the OGs and I've learned firsthand from them, and now that I'm in that place where I'm going to start applying it, I don't really have to worry about all the noise and the nonsense, but it's definitely like being taken seriously. I could say something, and if a man repeats it, they're going to be like, oh my God, bro, that's the smartest fucking thing ever. And it's like, bitch, I just said that like 10 seconds ago, but and I've had those moments where I'm like, but I learned to pick my battles too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say, I was telling, who was I telling? I was telling somebody this. Back in my younger days when I had hair, I used to be a police officer, right? And we went to a police academy, and obviously the women are not as strong as us, not as strong as men anatomically. It's just unless you're on that juice and you're a female bodybuilder. Trying in the police academy,
creatine in your eggs or something.
Right. You cooking your eggs over medium. I mean, it's just you're not gonna beat us in the physical agility aspect, except running, possibly, right? The women would struggle in the gun range. They struggled in doing the physical takedowns of a male instructor.
For sure.
They struggled when in every police academy, they make us fight each other literally with gloves. They struggled in fighting. They struggled in all the physical aspects, but you know where they were superior in?
The intellect.
Fucking tests.
The intellect.
These motherfuckers.
Tell you.
These motherfuckers were scoring.
Smarter, not harder, bro.
I know. These motherfuckers scoring 110, 100, 100. I'm like, we need to study together. You know what I'm saying?
Can you tutor me? Like,
right. So they beat us with their minds.
Yes.
So I think that when you know your breed and and you're absorbing everything, the good and the bad, and you're knowing what you don't want to have in your lines, and you telling him that he's trying to sell you a dog that you clearly say, I don't want that dog because the dog has a bad gait. I can tell. Then you're fighting back with what you know, because they'll try to bullshit you like, oh yeah, the oil change is about $200.
Oh my God.
It's like, wait a minute, motherfucker, I just went to Jiffy Lube and it was $50, but you want to charge me more.
Yeah, this breed is like 50% scammers just off rip. Like people who don't even know what they're doing and they're just in it for money. And again, definitely knowing what you're buying is important. But like my background before I even got these dogs was like I went to school for behavior psychology. So I apply a lot of that to the training that I do. You know what I mean? And I've had to butt heads with a lot of people with the methods and stuff that they do to train these dogs. And I've had to explain like, counter conditioning and DROs and reinforcement and all that stuff. Like my background is literally in modifying behavior. That's what I went to school for. And, I'm planning on going back to get my master's in it. But like it honestly, that was the biggest thing that I think helped me stand out, because I already knew what the fuck I was looking at when it came to the behavior and stuff like that. So nobody could bullshit me and be like, oh yeah, this dog is going to be, this is a protection dog. I can look at that and be like, the temperament isn't even there for that. So like, what are you talking about? And I've butt heads a lot with a lot of the males and male breeders, because they'll come and say, well, I have this much experience. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I literally went to school for this. So like, you're not going to tell me something that I paid tens of thousands of dollars to learn.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah. Thousands upon thousands. Like I went to school for this, you know what I mean? So it's been kind of cool to talk to the OGs and educate them on some things, things that they weren't aware of and stuff like that. But like, yeah, bro, like I'm the type of person, you got to work smarter, not harder, and like I said, as a woman, like you have to know what the fuck you're talking about, or no one's going to take you seriously. Because the moment that you slip up or you say something wrong, they're going to jump on it. Like
and if you don't know, just say, I don't know.
Exactly. Because there's plenty of shit I don't know. There's so much I don't know still. Like I'm still learning. I'm still considered a baby in this breed. I've only had the dogs for almost 5 years, but I myself am still learning.
But that's longer than most people, because who are trying to breed for money and not for the love of the breed. Yep. They don't stay in the game long if it's for money.
2 years, 3 years max.
Right.
In and out.
So let me ask you this. So this is an off the wall question that had nothing to do with dogs. What kind of health care do Canada have? Because everybody talking that shit, that free health care and rah. Because I'm paying a lot of money at Kaiser Permanente, man. So what is the health care process? Everybody get to go to the hospital and get their arm put back for free? I mean, what is this?
So the first thing is that like that the whole free concept is a misconception, right? Like we pay for our health care and it's subsidized through our taxes, first off. Secondly, our healthcare is not perfect. You know what I mean? Like you can go to certain hospitals, like the main hospital in my city, and you could be waiting for hours. If it's not an immediate emergency, if you're not having a heart attack, they're going to have you sitting in the waiting room 4, 5, 6 hours. You know what I mean? But again, if it is an emergency, like it's one of those things where that you're not going to go bankrupt because you had a heart attack. You know what I mean? And like I've been to the hospital for a few things. Like connections matter too. I played soccer for a big chunk of my life, and I've torn my ACL a few times. And because of my network, instead of having to wait a whole year, which is usually how long it takes to get in for surgery, about 2 weeks after I got my MRI, my surgery was booked and I was in 2 months later. You know what I mean? So the quality of care when you do get care is amazing. They're very thorough. I love that, I spend $20 on all of my medications. Damn. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot. I find that a lot of Americans do actually come here to purchase the medication because it's drastically lower, I just read recently that, your EpiPens are around like $700 to $800. Like that's life-saving medication. You know what I mean? Like you have a child on that and they expire, right? So if you don't use it in that 2 years, like you have to go and buy another one. And sometimes that $700 to $800 is like make it or break it for these families, So like I definitely really appreciate the fact that we have free healthcare. Like I've been in dog fights, I've had to break up fights with the males and stuff like that. I do boarding, so I've had to break up fights as well, and I've been to the hospital for that. So, I'm grateful that even though I've had my neck bit at one point, I couldn't move my jaw for 4 days, and I lost my tooth from being bit in the face by a Cane Corso. You know what I mean? Wow. So like I'm grateful that when I go to the hospital, I may have to wait 3 or 4 hours to see a doctor, but when I do, I'm getting top-notch care. I'm in and I'm out, and my medication is max like $30 to $50,
What is the next show that you may be going to in the United States?
So I attend a lot of them. It just depends. Like with this breed, there's a bunch of different registries that you can go to. The ABKC is my main one. So we will be attending, because we only get one this year. Normally we have a few, but there's only one in the whole country, one ABKC show. And it's hosted by Asylum Bulldogs, who's also a woman. She breeds pocket dogs. She actually had the first ever grand champion in Canada. So shout out to Chanel. I'll be attending her show, but I think the next one that we'll be going to in the States, if it's not an ABKC show, will probably be Cinco de Mayo, which is out in California. Because you're in California, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When we get off here, I'm going to send you the flyer. You better pull up May 3rd.
Are you coming?
Of course, I'm gonna fly out there. Absolutely. I'm looking into
It's in LA.
It's probably closer to like San Diego. I think it's in Oceanside.
Yeah, that's near Orange County. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm gonna send you the flyer. Please pull up, because if you come, I'll make sure I'll take care of you and you'll be great. It's the biggest XL focused show in the country. It's
you gotta let
hosted
me know.
by it's hosted by Buena Vista Bullies, who has Grand Champion Pressure, and TMK Bullies, who has Big John, as well as Champion Atlas, rest in peace. And like it's for the culture, you know what I mean? Like it's one of those shows where, you know, and in the sanctioned shows, you don't actually see a lot of XLs turn out. It's usually pockets and standards. But this show, you'll have between 200 to 300 just XLs, just big fucking dogs, bro. Nobody's fighting. The dogs get along. Everybody's stacking in the ring. Like, it's a fucking vibe, man. The food trucks, like, it's dope, you know? So
it's an indoor event?
Outdoor. It's California, so it'll probably be outdoor. But like I never went last year, but I had mad FOMO seeing all the videos and the content and stuff coming out. So that's one of the shows that I'll be looking forward to going to next year for sure, or this year.
I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, I got you. I'll send you the flyer when we get off here.
Yeah, dude, it's interesting because I'm like, I've seen some of the dog shows, not the bully shows, where, you know, you're stacking all these damn male dogs next to each other. They don't know each other. And it's like, fuck, man, a fight can break out real quick here. Have you ever seen something like that happen at one of these shows?
Not a fight per se, but like I've had dogs lunge at my dog before. You know what I mean? And like I was at a BRC show last year, and my boy Taco is actually dog reactive. So he was mauled when he was about 7 months old by an XL. And so for the last year, we had been working on, you know, rebuilding that confidence and getting him confident in the ring and you know, gating properly and stuff. And I was stacking him, and the dog in front of him literally turned his head and just went after him. And if that happened a year before, 100% a fight would have broken out. But because I had desensitized him to a lot of that stuff, I just kind of spun him around, did a little circle, restacked him, and calm, cool, collected. You know what I mean? So I personally have not seen fights breaking out. But it does happen. But like, you know, because we know we have powerful breeds, especially the XL owners, they're usually pretty cautious. We give each other space. You know what I mean? We let each other know, like, hey, like, don't get close here. Or, you know, I like to advocate for my dogs. If your dog gets too close, I'm like shoving your dog with my knee. Like, I've done that before, where I've literally had to like knee another dog away from them, because I'm like, I don't care who you are. My focus and my responsibility is the dog at the end of my leash. You know what I mean? And I'm going to make sure that if that dog is not responding, I've had to pull Taco out of rings as well, too, because he's getting too riled up and I can feel the tension building in him. And so that's part of responsible ownership, is knowing what your dog's thresholds are and when to push and when to pull them out, you know?
Another question is, you said you just recently had 10 puppies?
That was 3 years ago.
Oh.
That was some time ago.
When is your next litter?
It'll be in June. So we've got Champion Jules going to Grand Champion Pressure. He's one of, in my honest opinion, one of the best XLs, not just producing, but the best quality XLs out right now that's alive. Like, you know, Grand Champion out as an XL is a tough skill, because in that champion class, you have all the classes going together, and the judges, they don't even try to hide it. They are very partial to the small dogs. So if the dog is not a standard or a pocket, half the time they're not even looking at you. You know what I mean? So for it took pressure quite some time to even Grand Champ out. You know what I mean? So, but shout out to Damien. He worked his ass off with that dog. And you know, he really proved, like, you know, XLs can stand with the best and they can stack with the best. If you actually go on my page, there's a few videos of me, my Instagram. I may not have it on there anymore, but there should be a video with me with a giant, it's not the pictures, but it's a video, and I'm in a dress with a really big blue tri dog. That is Grand Champion Pressure. And, you know, just seeing him and being able to experience him as a dog, I don't even remember what the question is, but I just love that fucking dog, man. Like, I've flown out to Cali a few times just specifically to go see him and put hands.
So I guess is he still around?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. He's 5. So
what does a stud fee cost, you think?
$6K. That's it. Nothing crazy.
That's it.
Yeah. Because there's dogs out there, like Jules' dad, for example, his stud fee is $20,000. You know what I mean? Jules' uncle, his stud fee is also $20,000.
And people are paying that?
People are paying that. Hell yeah. I have a few friends that have just dropped Jumanji litters. You know what I mean? Like, that blood is highly sought after, you know? Hey, look,
but let's say, listen, I do a lot of breeding too. I'm a stud guy.
This is Jules.
Why? Wow.
She's a big girl. Quiet, relax.
I do a lot of breeding too. I'm a stud guy, right? But when you start capping at 20 grand,
It's a lot.
but yeah, but is there like a? I know with me, if the breeder, and I make them sign contracts, but if they do all the progesterone tests and we did everything right and it's still didn't take, then I breed again for free the next time around. But when you're paying 20 grand, is he giving you a second chance without charging you?
Yep. So typically, what like every breeder is different, but for the most part, across the board, we consider a full litter to be 3 or more. So if you only have 1 or 2 puppies, the breeders will honor that credit and they will let you do a repeat. Now, what happens after that? It just depends, right? So if you only get 1 or 2 again, because if we know anything about females, like the females determine the size of the litter. So if your female's not ovulating and they don't drop enough eggs, it's not really on the stud owner to keep giving you litter after litter after litter, So that, again, everything it's pretty subjective. It's case by case,
Wow. So what's your next super litter? When is your next super litter coming out?
It'll be that grand champion litter, bro, man. Like I said, Pressure is not only a titled dog, but he's pen hip tested and clear. He's embark tested and clear. And because he's a little bit older, I've had the opportunity to watch his offspring grow, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. One of his best sons, triple champion Ghost, is a champion in 3 different registries: the UKC, the BRC, and the ABKC. And you don't see that very often, especially with XLs, right?
Yeah.
He's got sons like Steven and like Legend and ZD, and he's even got grandkids now that are coming up, like Champion McLovin, who champed out at 10 months, which is almost unheard of especially for XLs, right? So, that blood specifically, like, is some of the top shit out. And again, this is my opinion. People are free to disagree. But like breeding to Pressure is really exciting because, nothing like that's been done in Canada before. Like I said, Jules was the first ever champion XL female. There's only 2 of them in the entire country. And she'll be the first one to go to a grand champion titled dog, obviously with the health testing and everything as well. So that's something that honestly I've been working towards for the last 2 years. I've been waiting, watching and doing a lot of work behind the scenes, and fuck, man, I'm so excited, bro. Like I cannot wait to whelp these fat ass little puppies, bro. Like just see their big chunky fucking heads, man. And like,
now, if somebody wants to buy a puppy from you, or they want to communicate with you the most, let's say puppies, how would they find you? Where would you be advertising at?
Mostly Instagram.
Because Instagram is tough with selling dogs now.
For sure. And like I'm the kind of person where, like, again, I don't breed every year. I don't breed back to back to back to back. I don't have 5 litters a year. I usually have 1, maybe 2, depending on if I've got females and stuff. And
depending on what vacation you want to go on.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So like when I have one, I usually have a pretty good market of people already waiting to lock in and have interest, like
you have a loyal following.
Yeah. Right. So with this breeding with Pressure, the inquiries have been insane. Like I've never had so many people ask me about, prices and stuff like that. And, obviously she's not in heat yet. So a lot of people are hesitant to put money down, which I totally understand,
Right.
But I've got a really long wait list of about 30 people. So once we actually do confirm, I can guarantee you that the litter will probably sell out before they're even born. And any additional puppies that we have will be gone within the first couple of weeks. Like, so I'm not too worried about that, but I do market on Facebook as well. So for my previous litter, I think I sold about half of them through Facebook. I spent about $600 or $700 on advertising through Facebook.
Yeah.
I made about 12K, just pets. You know what I mean? I sold them all at pet homes.
What's the Canadian money? What is it called?
$1.
Well, the Canadian money is called dollars?
It's just the Canadian dollar, yeah.
Oh, the Canadian dollar, okay.
Yeah.
Is the American dollar still stronger than the Canadian dollar?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's embarrassing.
So I can live like a king out there, huh? With $100.
Yes, our shit is like Monopoly money, bro.
God damn. Let's take some comments and questions here.
Yeah, for sure, bro. For sure. I'm gonna check Instagram because I know that there's quite a few people on here too.
Yeah, check. Let me see here.
Oh, there's quite a few people in here. That's dope.
Let me see here. What is this right here? This might be for me. Santiago. Why do some Euro Dobermans have markings on their feet? Bad genetics? I wouldn't say bad genetics. It's their marking code. I mean, we call those the dirty paw look. I actually like that. Okay. But for show confirmation. Is that part of the
standard?
Huh?
Is that part of your standard? Like, is that allowed?
It's well here in America, the AKC Westminster Dog Show. There's not too many European Dobermans are in there. Okay. They do have to be a standard height, size, and sometimes the Euro dogs are a little bit bigger. The bone structure is bigger, and the markings are not what they're supposed to be. To me, it's not a defect. Defects are when you got white dogs, blue fawn Dobies, Isabel Dobies. Those are defects that they're not a part of the standard. Now, that's in the Dobie game.
Can I actually ask you a question about that? Is it considered a defect or is it considered a flaw? Like, are you still allowed to breed those dogs? But yeah. They're allowed breeding. Or is it something that it's like you call that shit?
No. You are allowed to breed off-colored dogs, off-colored Dobermans. But in regards to being a part of any kind of confirmation show, whether it's national, regional, or local, they don't allow them because that is not a standard. The standard is either red and rust or black and rust. The other colors, I mean, in the bully game, you can get blue pits that are bad than a motherfucker, right? Out here, you can get a blue Dobie, and they got alopecia and.
Really? There's blue Dobermans?
Yeah.
I have never seen that before.
Well, they call it blue, but it's like I think it's Fawn or Isabel. I don't remember. But,
okay, yeah. I know what you mean.
But it's they usually the ones I've seen have had issues, whether they're genetic, personality issues, skittish. The eyes are doing this right here. Like some albino male friends, I got a mind that shit going like this all the time. It's always problems with them. So they're not something that I breed to because you're breeding a defect, Well,
and that's kind of common in the bullies as well too. Like the dilute colors, like if you have blue or if you have lilac, sometimes they do have skin and coat issues.
What's up with the Merle? Is that considered a defect?
It's considered a DQ in the ring, but the reason for that was because back when they were breeding them, they weren't really sure how that genetic worked, and so like. What they've learned is that when you breed Merle to Merle, depending on the length of the allele, right? The allele is the genetic. You can produce blind and deaf dogs at a 25% rate, right? And so because of that, they said, well, fuck it. We don't want these dogs at all. And so they were being culled. Now, when you're incorporating things like Alapaha blue blood bulldogs and different other types of bulldogs that do carry Merle genetics, it's going to be a part of the foundation of your breed. And so, with the research that UC Davis has done, as well as a few other researchers, they've learned like, okay, the allele length is what determines that. And so for a dog like Jules, for example, she's actually a ghost or a crypt. She's considered a cryptic Merle, right? Her dad.
I thought you were going to say crip.
Yeah, right. Like she cripping. She outside. She's from the West Coast. But like, Willow, get off her. She's humping her right now. Get off of her, bro.
But she's trying to say she's the alpha dog.
Girl, bruh, these dogs, menaces, bro, menaces. But so, that Merle genetic, like if I could take Jules and I could breed her back to a Merle. So even though her dad is a Merle, because she doesn't present physically as one, even though she may carry the genetics, she's not going to produce that unless she's bred to
Merle.
Yeah, so, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So my boy Taco is a brindle Merle. So he looks like his Merle is really muddied because they've got like the tiger stripes in it and stuff like that.
He's part tiger, probably.
Oh yeah, look at him. There he is. Right there, little
like head boy. I'm asleep. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, no, look, he's like an old man. He'll be
so before we leave, we're gonna answer more questions. Alpha Dog says, "Can you read that question for us, please?"
So it says, from experience, what helps you guys determine a professional breeder from a scammer? Good question. Do you want to go first or should I? Me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think for me, what the best way to find a professional breeder is somebody who is willing to answer your questions regardless of if you spend money with them. You know what I mean? A scammer is going to be like, yo, you wasted my time, bro. Either you're going to drop money or not. And they're going to be in a rush to kind of get that bread out of you. Whereas like a professional breeder, they're happy and they're excited to answer these questions. Like they're passionate about their breed. They want you to learn and they want you to enjoy this breed as much as they do, you know? And so they're not going to give a shit about the money. They're going to want to educate you because even if you don't buy with them, they want you to still buy the right shit. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's my interpretation of that. What do you think, Gerald?
Professional breeders are always going to have a waiting list. Professional breeders to me are like, this is, and I'm old school. You know, I'm wanting to be your dad, like I told you. I'm 54 this year. I got you, right? So we have these things called soul food shacks.
Okay.
They're in the hood. They really ain't nowhere to stand, sit down and eat. But they got a line outside the fucking door. You know why? Because the food is consistent and it's great.
And the service is great.
Correct. So when you get a professional breeder, he's not going to have a shitload of goddamn litters. He's going to have a waiting list as long as his arm because his reputation precedes him. His dog speaks for themselves. Exactly. And so you can easily notice a scammer from a breeder when they start asking for money up front and, you know, dogs.
You need a deposit to come see the dog. Like,
yeah, fuck all that shit, man. Yeah, you know. Like, so there's many signs, but use your spidey sense. Your sixth sense has never led you wrong. Think about it. You may not want to agree with it, but you're like, God damn it, I knew something's fucked up.
Right? I felt
but I love him.
My Shayla.
Yes. So here's somebody said right here, okay, I guess it was Isabella the Blues, yeah. Let me see, what was he saying? Santiago, I disagree with hypertypes. What are your opinions about this? Because I know there's a lot of out there and people. So this is a question for me. Santiago, it's too much to go into about the hypertype because for another show. How about this one? Boom! What does that say?
Creates health issues. That's not it's true in its foundation, but like I've seen it done where it doesn't. I think the reason why it's good to avoid it in its entirety is because regardless, there's always a 25% chance that you are going to produce something. And I'd rather not even take that chance than take the risk of producing 25% of my litter being blind or deaf. Do you know what I mean? I did also see a comment too where they were like, Merle is visual, you can't carry it. You can have the Merle allele. So anybody that's on here, I highly recommend go on Facebook and search up Merle Sign Insertion. It's a group of individual researchers who actually specifically focus just on Merle across the board, whether it doesn't matter the breed, like they have a bunch of breeds. And I can't remember the woman's name, but she wrote her own book on that. And so you can have the Merle allele, right? But it doesn't present because the allele length is too short. So the longer the length, the more you will present, or the different types of coats that the dog will carry. So it's not really like carrying it where they'll pass it on per se. But if you have the genetic, or your parent has the genetic, you may have a copy of that Merle allele still.
See, we killed it.
At least with on our breed, that's what I've seen. I'm not sure if it's the same with other breeds, because again, you've got border collies and they'll breed Merle to Merle, and there's no issues at all with health and stuff like that, right? So I think the way that the genetics play out, it can kind of vary. But somebody who's really knowledgeable, Jules, you are not getting my food. Really knowledgeable that with that specifically with the bullies is VVS bullies. He's great with answering questions. So if you guys are ever curious about like genetics specifically, especially with the bullies, he's somebody that I highly recommend you reach out to and ask those questions to.
You see what Corey's saying?
What? Merle is a stamp, not a pattern or a color. Yeah, like it's how it presents, it's how the color presents, right? But depending on the allele length, it may not present at all. Well, so you can have the M locus without presenting Merle.
It's been fun. Yeah, this thing has been fun.
Yeah, man. I fuck with this, bro. We definitely got to do this more often.
I told you this shit was gonna be a fire.
It was dope. Yeah, no, you were right, man. You were right.
Thanks to Earl out there, Sumo. Let me see. Because
Earl,
yeah.
He's great people, bro.
Thanks to
He's
Earl
great people,
for
man.
doing his video
At
in
nationals,
Houston.
yeah.
I was like, damn, a female breeder?
And a handler, bro.
Hold up.
We
From
champs
Canada?
are. Can y'all look at? Do you see them back there?
From Canada, eh?
Look at that. Like,
Lord have mercy. You can't make this shit up. People, at
Willow.
the end of the day, people, I like to say always at the end of my show and end of my podcast and end of my reels, I say be resilient, but be responsible.
Mhm.
Until next time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
You too.